Hey everybody, it's me, Stock Picks by Tim, and in this video I wanted to go over Bngo stock or Bionanogenomics. We do have some recent publications to look over, and then I'm going to go over earnings coming up, and we're going to check out the chart and see what's going on there. So let's get right into it. If you don't mind hitting the like, I definitely appreciate it. If you're new here, consider subscribing. I put out daily videos. If you're looking for any new stock or crypto exchanges, check out the links down below. I'll also leave you a link down below if you still need to do taxes. It'll leave you with a discount for TurboTax, so check that out. And let's get into Bngo stock. First off, let's go over this publication. It was just released on March 2, and let's go over it. But Bionano announced two publications from its clinical study designed to support OGM, or optical genome mapping, as part of standard of care, or SOC, in genetic disease testing, including the first peer-reviewed publication on the multi-site evaluation of OGM against standards of care. And looking into this, they had a peer-reviewed publication from LQBAL. It describes the multi-site evaluation of OGM for postnatal genetic disorders with 404 samples. And with these 404 samples, it showed concordance of OGM against various other standards of care. Concordance basically means it came to the same findings as these other standards of care. And 399 out of 401 samples, this was the case. A 99.5% success rate. And then first pass success rate for OGM was 90%, 369 of 409 samples. Overall success rate of 98%. And an inter and intra-site repeatability of 100%. So every time it analyzes these genomes, it comes to the same conclusions, if not even giving you more information than previous other typical standards of care. And I'm not going to go over every single bit of this, but I will leave it down below for you to look over it yourself. But here's some of the sites that conducted this study and their principal investigators here. University of Rochester Medical Center, Medical College of Wisconsin, Columbia University Medical Center, Greenwood Genetics Center, Medical College of Georgia, Augusta University, Praxis Genomics, University of Iowa Health, and H. Lee Moffitt Cancer Center. And let's go over some of these key findings. Unblinded concordance with standard of care of a 99.5% success rate, 399 out of 401 samples. Partially concordant with SOC was only 0.5%, so 2 out of the 401 samples were partially concordant, meaning they came to some of the same conclusions but had a little bit of differences there. A blinded concordance with standards of care was 97%. First pass success rate 90.2%. Overall success rate of 98.8%, 404 of 409 samples. And I'm not completely sure what this is, but 100% agreement on Fragile X syndrome calls for a full expansion or not full expansion in 401 samples. And check this out right here. For a subset of 79 prospectively collected samples from patients suspected of a genetic disorder, standards of care had reportable findings in 19 cases, or 24%, whereas OGM had reportable findings in 27 of these cases, or 34%, corresponding to a 42% increase in the number of cases with reportable findings when OGM was utilized or used. For another subset of cases consisting of 135 retrospectively collected samples from patients suspected of autism, standards of care found reportable variants in 63 samples, or 46%, whereas OGM identified reportable variants in 83 samples, or 61%, corresponding to a 32% increase in the number of cases with reportable findings where OGM was used. So OGM is coming up with more answers than typical standards of care. And let's quickly go over the CEO Eric Holmlin's words. Development and validation of OGM assays for postnatal analysis is an area where we believe our technology can have tremendous global impact. The performance we have seen matches our expectations. We're extremely happy with these publications, demonstrating OGM's performance across multiple sites and its potential ability to perform in a single assay what today requires multiple technologies. I feel so dirty for saying assay, I don't know why. The process of establishing a trial program with a consortium like this is made possible by capable principal investigators and leading sites. Commented, this is by Alka Chabi, which is the PhD and a Chief Medical Officer of Bionano. We are particularly pleased with his study findings related to the potential ability or utility of OGM to increase reportable yield in autism samples. And I did want to tell you guys, I'll leave you a link down below to their, it's like a 2-hour event that they had, and I highly recommend you guys to check it out. I'll leave it down below for you. But next up, let's go over their earnings coming up and the date you got to look out for, and then we're going to look at the chart. So Bionano is planning on reporting their fourth quarter and year-end 2022 financial results, and this is going to be on March 9. At 4:30, so after hours. And stick around because I will be covering it. Now, I did want to pull up the chart and just show you guys that it's still been in this long-term downtrend, finding resistance on this descending resistance line here. And if we do see some good news for earnings, if we do get a pop here and see a breakout of $2, I do think that'll be a breakout of this descending resistance. And that would be a bullish thing to watch out for. But if earnings disappoints, we could actually come down and test our lows. Let's check it out. And you'll actually notice here that this is one of those stocks that has held up, the May 11 low. So that's interesting to see, and that will be a support level if we get an iffy earnings here. And this is right around this 115 area. But one thing you'll see is throughout this whole bear market, the EMAs have not really been able to flip, meaning the 50 hasn't been able to flip the 100 or flip the 200. Although after the May 11 lows were established, the 50 did try to break the 100, but it really just didn't last long, and it didn't get the momentum it needed to actually break out of the 200 as well and give us that bullish indicator. But if earnings goes good and we see a little, maybe a couple week-long run, at least some bullish momentum, some move upwards, we could see a flip of these EMAs again. So you're going to want to watch out for that. And really quickly, just touching on what we expect for earnings, they do expect a negative quarter, big surprise in terms of profit. They're not going to make a profit. And their revenue, though, is potentially going to be a record-breaking quarter if we do see this $8 million. This is one stock that has had relatively consistent revenue growth. I mean, not perfect, but for the majority of the time, their revenue is kind of on an upward trajectory. There are occasionally quarters where they just see kind of a decline quarter over quarter in revenue, but not that often. And that is one thing that I will be intently watching for, is seeing if they can actually break this $8 million in revenue. And more importantly, I'm going to be listening to the call and seeing, how is adoption of this OGM going? How many sales of the Sapphire have they had here? And also, how's their recurring revenue for the flow cells going? That is one thing that I'll be watching for, is, the flow cells and how these people that already have Sapphires, how they're contributing to Bionano's revenue, because this is going to be recurring revenue, and I want to see how that's going there. But let me know what you guys think about this recent news for Bngo on these publications, and also how do you feel about earnings coming up? And also another one for you is, are we going to test those May 11 lows? Do you think so? Or do you think that we're going to break out of 2 before we test the May 11 lows? I personally think it all lies on this next earnings. And of course, there are macro factors to consider. If the Fed raises more rates, or at least more than we expect, we do expect at least a few more, but are they going to get more aggressive? CPI is going to be coming out here, I believe March 13, March 14, something like that. So you're going to want to watch out for CPI. And, if we get a really bad reading, it's going to be pretty clear that the Fed's going to likely raise more rates than is already anticipated, and that will cause a drop in the market. And of course, we have the Fed meeting as well towards the end of March. So we do have some macro factors at play. Of course, we have earnings to weigh in and see how things go there. Definitely things to consider here. But thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you guys later.